Thank you very much. Hi, it's great to be with all of you. My name is Nick Hamman. I'm going to try and make what I have to say and share with all of you as useful as possible. I want to try and impart as much of what I've learned in my own journey through to you. The big takeaway that I want to give all of you is that you have a story. Every single person in this room has a story worth telling and an audience that will listen to it. And if you know how to tell your story correctly and how to find your audience, you'll have an economy. You'll have a currency that you can sell to other people. And that's kind of what I've tried to prove with my work. So who we are is Hammy Eats. It's a food business. Essentially, it's a content marketing platform. We're on YouTube. We have an app. We're across social media. And we have something called the Hammy Stamp of Approval. So that's basically our South African Michelin star. We believe in putting our name behind businesses, food businesses in particular, that we think are excellent. And through the brand of trust that we've built over the years, we encourage other South Africans to come and taste the food that we love. So here's a little bit about me, right? I've been in traditional media for the last 15 years. I currently host The Breakfast Show on 5FM. I got my journey into storytelling and travel journalism about 10 years ago when I was tasked with trying to market a music concert in Polokwane. And I said, well, the best way to market this music concert would be to walk there. So I took 2 weeks from Johannesburg. I walked to Polokwane. It was 330 kilometers. We did 25 Ks a day. And every single day, we broadcast that radio show in the morning from the side of the road. And what that taught me about this idea of everybody has a story, because obviously I had a national radio audience every day that had to have something to listen to. And when you're walking on the road, on the R101 on the way to Polokwane, you don't pass a hell of a lot of people on a Tuesday morning. So every person you do pass, you have to get a story from. And I remember as a young man doing this, I walked past a lady on the side of the road selling millies. And firstly, I just think, okay, maybe at best I can speak to this woman and I can say, what's delicious about your millies? Why do you like them? Why should people buy them? And then I do that interview and I move on. But I realized that's not enough content. It's not enough to fill up a national breakfast radio show. So I need to know more. So I sit with this lady and I start investigating. Where did you come from? What time of day did you wake up? Who are you supporting? Who's the family behind you? Why are you doing this? Where did you get your firewood from? Where do you get your millies from? And through that, and asking those real questions, I started to paint her story in a way that other people would care. And that's when I realized everyone's got a story. If you're willing to listen and you're willing to understand your own, you'll be able to find amazing things. So a little bit more about what I do. There's a place near here, just up the road, and they are selling inyama yentloko. So they do cow head meat. Before we went to go and visit them, I think they were doing about 7 a day. They told us that after our traction, they're up to about 14, 15. What's far more amazing about the man behind this story is his real hustle and what he's actually doing. So I'll show you his product, but then I'll tell you his real story. I'm Nick Hamman, and if you're looking to indulge in delicious inyama yentloko, this open-air establishment welcomes you in with smells of tongue, mutton bones, pap, and of course cow's head stewing in delicious broths. Inyama yentloko is exactly what it sounds like, a slow-cooked, fall-apart tender dish made from the head of a cow, sheep, or goat. It's a delicacy, the kind of meal that tells a story about culture, resourcefulness, and knowing how to extract every ounce of flavor from an animal. Served together with pap, perfect to soak up the juiciness of the dish and the iconic orange chili sauce that any establishment like this worth its salt needs to have. The full meal goes for 50 Rand here. I've left the details in the caption and would highly recommend you check out Half Clutch for yourself. It was through meeting this business owner at Half Clutch that I came to understand what the township economy really is and how it genuinely functions. Because after we'd brokered a relationship of trust with each other, he showed me behind the curtains of what his business is doing in its entirety. So in addition to having this restaurant that trades 7 days a week, that's a family-run business, he's also running a butchery across the road, which is supplying traditional African, South African meats to countless townships around South Africa, in provinces in Gauteng, and both beyond that. And when I learned that, I started to see the real scale in operation that's operating right in front of our faces, but often so unseen to the other sectors of society and the economy. I got really interested in trying to see what kind of impact and difference I could make. So we started going out and finding business stories that we felt were important to tell. This is Spandile, you're going to see here. She's running a food truck in Parkwood in suburban Johannesburg. Her story is one of leaving a job to follow a passion, having to wake up incredibly early in the morning to get her product from where she lives to where she sells in the suburbs. But she's somebody who, after we visited, we were able to make a massive change for too.
So a recent video we did on this food truck behind me here, Spandile African Food, just hit 1 million views. I want to come see how things are going.
Thank you so much, guys, for the support. I'll also thank you to you, Nick. Honestly, as much as there's have been pressure, but then it's like it has been overwhelming, the support that I have been receiving from people. Many people have been telling me they're coming from as in far. You know, there's a guy who mentioned is coming from Pretoria. Imagine coming here to Rose Burgers in Parkwood to support us. It has been good. I'm really grateful, and I appreciate you, Nick, for letting us be out there to people in order for them to recognize Hammy African food. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who follows this page, who goes out and tries the food and visits the places that we promote. Long may it last and all may it grow. You do amazing work. Just look at these stories. Let's keep going.
So what we realized with Spandile is that we were onto something. We had found a way to take good South African stories and make South Africans care about them. So much so that they would open up their pockets and they would come to these businesses. And the why behind that is what I'm trying to share with you today. The why behind that is because we found the story, the human connection in Spandile, and we sold that to an audience on social media that compelled them. Because all of us see Spandiles in us or know a Spandile. We know a woman who is struggling and just wants to get by. We know somebody who is hardworking and passionate, who wakes up before the sun rises and goes to sleep long after it sets and makes damn delicious food. And knowing that we can support somebody like that is something that we want to do as people, naturally, especially people that live far away from townships. And that's the whole challenge, is trying to get them to spend more time in these spaces. So we started thinking about that. And we started thinking also about how do we encourage South Africans to think more globally. We realized that South Africa is a country that's incredibly well diplomatically represented. It's something that in the 90s we made a big point of reinviting the world and saying, hey, you know, we're changing our regime, we're doing things differently, and we want the global community to come back and be our friends again. And so we are one of among the top diplomatically represented countries in the world in terms of the amount of embassies that are here. But I feel like that's not a thing that we celebrate as South Africans. So we opened up a platform to go and celebrate that. So far, we've met with, I think, around 20, 30 different ambassadors. We've eaten at their residences, and we've promoted their food culture to South African audiences. But the point behind it is to make us as South Africans think globally about ourselves. We're not just here in Tembisa near the hospital. We are, in our own minds, free to be global and free to think globally. And so that's why we tried to do that. There's Tiani Maluleke on the right, another guy, another success story we're very proud of. He's got a business called Grubworks. So Grubworks makes burgers. They're in Shawelo. They're delicious. You should have them if you never have eaten them before. But the point behind him is he was selling a handful of burgers a day before we came to visit, and we saw value in his story. Value that maybe he hadn't seen yet. And to me, the value was, here's a guy in Shawelo who wants to do burgers, and he wants to do burgers well. He's trying to compete against fast food options all around him that are much cheaper. The price of a burger, the cost price of selling a burger is naturally going to be a lot more than cheaper alternatives. But he wants people to try it, find out that they enjoy it, and realize that them spending their money on a product like this gives them an elevated experience. So we figure out those things, package his story, sell it on social media, and this is what happens. I think this was 2 days after we told his story.
Nick, we blame it on Nick. We blame it on Nick. This is crazy. The grills haven't stopped since we've opened at like 10:30. It is packed. I blame Nick. We have been grilling non-stop for almost, I don't know, what time is it now? Probably 5 hours. Thank you, Nick Cannon.
That was because we were able to figure out what his story was of a young Township-based entrepreneur trying to do things differently. People attached themselves to that and they spent on his product. Everyone has a story. If you've got a business, that business has a story. You need to figure out what yours is, what makes you interesting. And think about it also from the perspective of what all the speakers here have been saying today. People want to, industries want to desperately get into the space that you are already in. So think about that. Think about what makes you enticing and exciting and learn how to sell these stories. I did it through social media. If you have access to a smartphone, that already is more than enough to be creating content. If you have a car or a quiet space and you want to record a voiceover, that is more than an adequate environment. I've done television shows that have broadcast internationally on voices that I've recorded on a phone in the car. You can. There are free apps that you don't need to spend money on. UCut is the app that I use now for all of the social media work that I do. It's the one that I started with. It's free. They've yet to ask me for money. I've yet to give them any money, but I can make videos that advertise businesses, as can you if you have a smartphone doing just that. To give you an idea of what it means to find out what your story is. So I don't know if any of you saw Tob's Wraps just outside here, just on the other side, right? So Tobile is somebody who I've connected with recently, and the point behind her was going to her business, which is an amazing wraps business in Vosloo, and figuring out what is her story. So from the outside looking in, it's just a lady selling delicious wraps. But when you think about it more deeply, it's actually very profound and intelligent what she's doing. Her story is that in 2020, she left her job, she wanted to start something new, and she realized that wraps, which sell for lots of money in many parts of the world, are very cheap to make. They're quick and they're easy, and they don't require much from an input point of view. Figuring that out, she realized, well, I've got an opportunity to introduce a new flavor profile to my area. Us telling that story in that way that makes it enticing and compelling has been able to do a lot for her business.
I'm Nick Hamman from Hammy Eats, and today I'm taking you to Vosloo, about 30 kilometers southeast of Johannesburg, to an inspirational powerhouse of a woman, Tobile Sibeko, who's on a mission to introduce wraps to her hood with her fantastically delicious business, Tob's Wraps. Deciding in 2019 to leave her corporate job and follow her passion, she didn't yet know about the incoming pandemic that would change everything. With resources being scarce, she realized that flour, water, and oil were all she needed to make wraps, and from there, this idea was born. Eventually, she came to acquire this space, which sadly had previously been overrun by the local Nyaupe addicts. Initially, the community wanted to burn down the building, but Tobile convinced them to build rather than destroy, creating the spot you see before you today. It's this spirit of innovation that also led to her starting Scufteen boot camps, where she teaches local moms how to make wraps as quick, cheap, and alternative food sources for their families. But if you come here yourself or order on Mr. D, you can treat yourself to this meaty platter, which comes with wraps including smoked chicken, boerewors, bacon, Russian, boneless ribs, and smash patties. The meat is great quality and comes from her trusted butcher. The toasted wraps are crunchy. The sauces made in-house, giving them a distinct flavor. And overall, this is the kind of food that will immediately have you craving more. I would highly recommend trying out Tob's Wraps for yourself, and I've left the details in the caption. Let's help empower local food businesses, one delicious meal at a time.
That genuinely is an incredible insight. Because if you look at the story of pizza, right? We think about pizza now, we associate pizza with being something that's quite expensive, right? And something that you go to a fancier establishment in Sandton and you order and you pay 200 Rand sometimes just for a pizza. The story of pizza is very similar to this. Pizza was what they called, in parentheses, peasant food in Italy. It was what the everyman ate in his or her lunch break. Think about what pizza is, really. It's flour, water, oil, handful of toppings. It's really not an expensive thing. But because of how it was marketed and how it was treated, it became into the global phenomenon that it is. And I think a lot of times as South Africans, largely because of the history this country has suffered, we aren't encouraged as South Africans to think of ourselves as more than, as global, as exceptional, as having a story worth telling. But that's nonsense. Of course we are. Of course we have that. Look at that. I mean, just telling Tobile's story, I hope she doesn't mind. I know she is here. A couple days after we posted this video, she was able now to get another food truck to open and expand her business because of the runway that she was given, which is an amazing story. Stories are everything. Coach, who's a friend of mine, I call him the pork king of Soweto, near Moponya Mall. He has a business where He's doing pork heads, pork ribs, pork everything, you name it. For our YouTube show, we wanted to go out and tell his story and realized again that what was impactful about him and what people connected with wasn't the food. It was a man who had fallen on hard times in life, who was given a final chance by his mother who is now late, to pull himself together and create something beautiful with his time here on this earth. And he did that. And just in asking him what his late mother would think of what he's achieved now, we got an answer from him that became his story and the reason that so many people have flooded to see his business. What do you think she would think if she saw Cockroach today?
Wow. She would be proud. Every day we try, even if we don't know whether she sees us or not, but we try to make her proud. She would be proud. She knows the struggles that we had. I used to wake up in the morning, sweep the floors, do whatever. We didn't have staff, but we had the help we needed from her end and the rest of the family, and we were glad. She would be proud. You know, talking about her, she changed my life. I was too much into alcohol, and she made me realize something that nobody could have done, seen that in me. Nobody could see the potential in me except her. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you. We started small, we grew. Yeah, it's a pity now that things are going our way, she's not there. But she was a queen.
Coach has a story. You have a story. If you've been through struggle in your life, if you've been rejected, if you've had bad things happen to you, you have a story of adversity. If you get up every morning before the sun rises and you grind harder than anybody else you know, you have a story. And that story, trust me, is what people want to see. We're able now, very proudly, to have built our business around all of this. We reach 20 million South Africans a month with our content. We've partnered with some of the biggest brands in South Africa and the world because everybody wants the power that we've harnessed. And to be honest with you, to give it to you for free, it's the power of knowing what your story is and being able to give it to people. It's another cool impact story we often like to share. This was Industry Bakery, which is in Sunninghill. We did a story on them, and 2 days later they had to close down. Not permanently, that would be awful, but just to be able to restock. This is Harry's Cafe, another place also that was able to see tremendous benefit from us visiting. I'm going to skip ahead across through that quickly, though, if you don't mind. So what we have, which is really interesting, and what I encourage you to do if you are a food business and you want to get in touch with us, is we built an app. The app is called Hammy Eats. We call it South Africa's most delicious food map. We've currently got over 1,000 businesses that are on there. And wherever you are in South Africa, you can literally download it right now. It's free on both the app stores. It finds places near you that we've given Hammy stamp of approval to. So real South African businesses, with all due respect to franchises, we're not interested in that. We're interested in the mom and pop shops, the places that were built from the ground up with blood, sweat, and tears, the places that have stories. So the app allows you to find them, it directs you to all of our content, and it allows our audience to be able to see the places that are out there in South Africa. So if you're a food business, on the app, there is a place where you can go and you can sign up and apply for us to come and feature your business. If we do decide to come, we do it free of charge. It's not a cost to the businesses at all. And then hopefully you get access to our network and we can do similar things for you that we've been able to do for other people. In addition to this, we're also involved in a program just really quickly called KIP, which I'd encourage you to check out. It's the Entrepreneurship Project. I'm the face of it, to prove to you that hungry, hardworking South Africans are not in short supply. Just in Gauteng alone, we could take on 200 people. We got 5,000 applications of people running businesses, just food businesses, who wanted to go into our incubation program. Currently, we're incubating 200 businesses. We're hoping to expand this out. We're proactively looking for partners now to help us to do that. But the other thing, from an opportunity perspective, as somebody who's in this industry, something worth thinking about, the world is hungry for stories from South Africa that are new and different to the stories we've previously sold the world. Why is it that sorghum in this country still so often is called things like the poor man's porridge? Sorghum is nutrient dense. Sorghum is something that should be on the shelves at Woolworths. Sorghum is our own version of quinoa, something that was an ancient Peruvian grain that is now sold among the most wealthy of products on the shelves in the stores. South Africa has lots of sorghums and stories like that to sell to the market. This is the kind of work that we really like to do at the core of it all. Is we like to change people's perceptions about how they look at South Africa and how they see beauty in it. So recently I had a really cool experience to go and hang out with some of the guys at a place called Madala Hostel, which is in Alex, and got to try some of the food that they're making there. And for me, what was really important about telling the story is that even within our own country, in contemporary South Africa, there is so much stigma around the hostels. And yes, there are things that we know to be true of hostels that some people can reasonably say are reasons to be fearful of them. But at the same time, these places have an inextricable connection to the history of who South Africa is. And the people that live in there, many of them are hardworking South Africans just trying to get by. And telling that story, telling these kinds of stories, telling your story, the only thing I really wanted to impart on you guys today is I promise you, you have a story, figure out what it is, and use that to sell your product to the rest of South Africa and the world. Thank you.